Action figure reboots. Sponsored by Pearson Art.
Hello, and welcome back. Today we're looking at a Kenner Darth Vader, released in 1978 as part of the original 12. I remember seeing this figure when it first came out and being really disappointed. Now, I didn't collect any of these, so I really had no skin in the game, but I was still disappointed nonetheless. Part of the reason for my disappointment was that they gave him a vinyl vest. I've mentioned this before. I think it was way overused in the beginning. And it does work for certain characters, but I don't really think it works for him. Now, if he wore a black robe, that would be one thing. But he didn't wear a black robe. He wore a cape, and a pretty cool one, too. Now, I guess you could say, if you don't like the vinyl vest, just take it off. But that wasn't the only problem. It was also the body. If you look at this figure, from the waist up, it's a pretty good sculpt. But from the waist down, it looks rough and unfinished. But I really like the head on this figure and I wanted to use it, but I just couldn't get past this body. In addition to his cape, he also had a sleeveless robe and an armored codpiece, and neither of those details were present. And then a few years back, Hasbro released a Darth Vader figure for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that was on Disney Plus. It was made to look like the retro figure, but they addressed all the problems that the original body had. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. Though I will admit I was a little bummed out that they changed the arms. I would have liked it if they kept the original built-in lightsaber. That's classic. But you could always change out those arms for a pair of originals, so that wouldn't be much of a problem. But what I really didn't like was the cape. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad cape. I just don't think it's a great Darth Vader cape. But again, that's something that's easily changed. This was actually one of the contenders. I like this cape. I think this was the strongest one that I saw. It's an original Kenner design. You could probably get one in black on eBay. Though you probably would have to modify the head so it comes on and off because I don't think it would fit over the helmet. But I don't know. I don't really think you could do justice to his cape in this scale. Capes need weight so they can hang, drape. And I really don't think that's something that could be afforded in this size. So I thought maybe I'm coming at this at the wrong angle. Darth Vader's cape is a really important part of his whole look, and maybe a cloth version isn't the way to go. And that brought me back to a figure I had seen earlier and really liked, but wasn't sure if it could work or not, and that would be this. This is a Darth Vader figure that was made by Hasbro. It was based on the cartoon Rebels, which had a really cool Darth Vader design. The mask harkened back to the late great Ralph McQuarrie's killer conceptual art, so I liked it from the start. The figure is very good, but I'm not really the biggest fan of molded capes. It rarely ever works, but I really like the look of this one. Kenner did use one when they made their Darth Vader figure back in the 90s. It wasn't very good, but there is precedence. So while this figure is good, it suffers from the exact opposite of the Obi-Wan figure. It's got a great cape, but a bad body. It's really not that good. It's supposed to be Darth Vader, but it's so spindly. Like really thin arms, and the legs are kind of at a weird angle, so the cape doesn't even really sit right on it. But the problem is you could probably replace the arms, but what do you do with the legs? Now, some people may say, well, you could 3D print different ones. I guess you could do that, but for me, that really wasn't an option. So I kind of just put this on the back burner. In the meantime, I did pick up one of these Obi-Wan Kenobi figures, only because I wanted the head. Regardless of what body I used, I always wanted to use this head. I always liked this one, and this is the OG. I gotta use it. And I really love that they gave him red eyes. He has red lenses on his mask, and it's a small detail that most people probably wouldn't notice. They've done this before, but not with this head. I also think it breaks up the black a bit, allows you to see more of the detail, which is a good thing. But now I had a head and no body. It was kind of frustrating to say the least. But then I was looking at this new figure, and I wondered, could I use the legs from this on the molded cape body? And it turns out, yes, you can. So to review, I'm going to be using this cape, this chest, these legs, these arms from the original figure, because I want to bring back the built-in lightsaber. Also, I'm going to be painting the lightsaber hilt silver. And for the lightsaber, I use this piece of 2mm plexiglass. I didn't have any red transparent paint, so I just used a red Sharpie and then went over that with a satin finish. I think it came out pretty good. Okay, we got all the parts. Let's put it together and see what we got. All right, I like this. I'm very happy with the way this came out. I think this cape really works. And what I like about the design of the chest is that this figure was based off of a cartoon, so the details are a lot softer. And I think that fits in better with the vintage figures. These arms and legs really work with the figure as well. The chest is kind of thin, but the cape fills that out. I really like the lightsaber too. I'm glad I brought that back. You need to. Like I said, it's classic. I'd say he looks ready to take his seat on the Death Star. And speaking of the Death Star, since we have some time, it allows me to do another figure that isn't very consequential, but one I'd like to check off, and that would be the Death Star droid. This figure is kind of a head scratcher because there's nothing really right about it. They call it the Death Star droid, but he's only really in the movie on the Jawa sandcrawler. Here he is. Evidently, he works there. Kenner even made a Jawa sandcrawler, and he's on the box. They also didn't paint him right. They covered him in vacuum metal, so that was correct, but they painted the eyes and the shoulders black for some reason. If they would have just left it alone, it would have been more screen accurate. So I really don't know why they called him the Death Star droid. I mean, he could have been part of a series of other droids that were on the Sandcrawler. Or you could have made both figures. Kenner left money on the table. That's two figures they could have got from one mold. You want those variants. But since the packaging said it was a Death Star droid, I'd like to stick to that. So when I looked up Death Star droid, this is what came up. I'm going to do both, but I'm going to start with this one first. I got this figure in a lot. It's pretty beat up, but that's okay. All the vacuum metal is going to get stripped off and it's going to get repainted. So once again, we have all the parts. Let's put it together and see what we got. Okay, as you can see, not very exciting. I did paint the eyes a little bit differently to match the picture. Not the most interesting character, I guess, but it's nice to check this one off. The next one will be easier because I'm just going to paint that all silver. So here's two more figures I added to my collection. I'm happy with the results of both of them. It's nice being able to check off Darth Vader and the Death Star droid as well. These were fun. So I guess that about wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember and never forget, think outside the box.